Welcome back to Absolutely and Absolute Comics. It's a crossover with ourselves. I like that. I like that. I do like you keep hitting the mic too. It really helps.
Yeah, well, because no one can run like that.
No
It's insane.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Today we're doing a full-blown Flash spoiler review. This is me and Sal doing it. In a few days, you're going to see a broad Flash discussion where the whole team's going to come by. So you're going to get Hassan, Dan, and Neb's opinions. But today is going to be just our opinions of the situation and overall and everything going on. So without further ado, let's get into it, Sal.
Yes.
Because we don't go beat by beat. Let's talk about the running first, because
that's
okay.
I mean, at least it's consistent.
It was consistent. When he did run, I loved the effects of it. I did love the effects of the run.
Yeah.
But I did find it weird that they decided to have him kind of move at a slow motion-y kind of speed when he went at full speed in the middle of everything going super fast. I thought that looked weird.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like that one scene where he loses his powers and he runs like that was just to make fun of his run.
I think that was 100% self-referential. Absolutely. That is just being like, you need to address that you look insane. And they do. And I'm like, that's great. All right. That's funny. Like that was like when Tobey Maguire fell in Spider-Man 2 and he's like, my back. And it's like a little reference to the fact that he hurt his back. Like this is, run around in a circle like that. See what people think.
It looks so bad.
Yeah,
but let's take it back to the beginning.
Sure.
The very beginning of the movie kind of sets up that this is taking place after Justice League. And it sets up the tone and the humor almost immediately.
Yes.
That this is more of a jokey Justice League, to me, honestly, and I want to bring this to the forefront because the tone's what I wanted to get at, which is very much set forth by that opening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, for the record, if that opening was the DCU, I think we'd have a completely different universe going on right now.
Oh, it's so sad because like the humor, I can imagine somebody who isn't like thinking about this going like, "Oh, they're still just funny, like they're trying to be like the Justice League."
Yeah.
If the Joss Whedon Justice League had that kind of tongue-in-cheek but still take itself seriously fun,
yeah,
I think it would have a different. You're right. Like we'd have a completely different universe on our hands. Like it might have worked.
And people like to bring in like, oh, the Snyderverse had that dark tone and that made it different from the MCU. And I agree. I enjoyed the Snyderverse.
It did.
But if you read comics do lean into the jokiness. We all have that serious moment and the dark moment, but they do lean into the jokiness, especially the Flash.
Especially the Flash, and especially when they're together.
Yeah.
Like a Batman movie doesn't need to be hilarious at all, in fact. No. But a Flash movie or a Flash comic book, lighthearted, should be fun. And that's exactly the kind of tone that I was looking for the DC universe was like, oh, when we're in a Flash movie, it's the fun part. When we're in a Batman movie, it's the dark part. When we're in the Superman movie, it's like the self-serious, like hopeful part,
That's how it is in the comics, though. Batman has the dark and gritty, loses his hand, blood and guts, that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Superman has the hopeful, I will save everyone. And Flash cracks jokes. And when they get together in the Justice League, you see those tones clash, but in a good way normally.
Yeah, in a harmonious way. And that it worked so well. Like I was so sad to see their chemistry. That is to say, the surprise, or I was a little surprised.
This is a spoiler review, so I mean, it's a banner on here. We're safe to say spoilers.
All right. Wonder Woman, Batman, and the Flash together. I was like, their chemistry is amazing. I was like, this works really well. It's like they've been in a movie. Like it's like they've been in a bunch of movies together. How nice!
It made me miss what we're not gonna have anymore. Regardless who stays, who leaves, we know we're not keeping Ben Affleck. We know we're not keeping Gal Gadot at this point unless something changes.
Right.
It just made me miss what could have been because it could have led into this eventually. And that opening was just, you get to see the action of Batman doing his thing while the Flash is stopping time.
Right.
Wonder Woman coming in to save the day. You even get to see a cameo on a TV screen of a Superman. It's obviously not level because it's CG.
No, but they mean it to be. Like like that's the Henry Cavill Superman, and you'll never see him again. Like clearly you'll never see him again because I think it's interesting. But like I liked it, and I was like not sad to see them all together. It was for me. I'm like, you never would have seen them together again. This is one last look.
Yeah,
and that's kind of nice.
It's also kind of sad to know what was cut. That there was a Henry Cavill scene. There was more stuff with Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and a lot of it was just cut out because it would imply a universe that no longer exists.
You could feel that, by the way, and that's like another big not ding, but it's certainly a critique of this movie is that you can feel that this absent of it being a universe resetter or a, palate cleanser, it's an okay Flash movie,
Right.
but divorced of all of that, like, without it doing any of the work it needed to do and the reason why it even existed, it's a pretty okay Flash movie. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
My
you
overall
know?
review on it is like I thought it was we didn't actually mention that. I really enjoyed this movie. Now, it's not WB's executives hyped this up to be on par with The Dark Knight. It
I
is
couldn't
not.
believe like, at the end of it, I'm like, "That's not even
No,
close." Like,
not even close. No. And this is not a, "Oh my god, it's the harbinger of the greatest." If these DC movies had been at this tone, I don't think we'd be breaking a billion, but I do think we'd probably be breaking 700 to 800 million on a
yeah,
regular
absolutely.
basis, and I think people would have been a lot happier with the DCU. I think
Big
that
time.
would have been fine. I think this would have worked great. I think it would have done a good job. I don't think it'd be getting endgame numbers,
No.
but I do think we would have had a lot different reaction to the whole entire.
100%.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie,
It was. It was a
and
blast.
I laughed and actually enjoyed myself more during this than Shazam 2, Shazam 1,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 2, like, Aquaman, I actually enjoyed it, and not just because there were Bat characters in it, like, it was the humor was genuine. It was a genuine attempt at humor. It wasn't just like, "We've shot the movie, just throw in jokes every 2 minutes,"
Yeah.
like, this actually felt like it had a voice, which is great because apparently the director of this movie is directing the DC Cinematic Universe Batman movie.
Ooh, that's gonna be good.
I was like, "Interesting. I guess that makes sense. You've directed at least 2 Batmen."
Well, let's talk about that because he's in the beginning, so we're still at the start of the movie. We can still talk about that.
Yeah,
I loved that they put Batman characters in there, but
yeah.
I loved even more that they chose to not detract that from the Flash.
Yes.
Like, Supergirl and Batman's roles in this movie felt like add-ons and support characters as
Yep.
opposed to being like, "And now that Batman's here, we've got a subversive Batman movie." And it was like, "No, this is still a Flash movie.
Yes,
Batman's just
the
right there."
marketing is all like, it's a Batman movie, but it
Yeah,
is not. Like, they're all working in service to the plot, which is driven by Barry.
yeah.
That's
Two Barrys. I love you said it best when they were hiding Barry from the trailers. You're like, "No wonder they couldn't cut Ezra Miller. They're in
they're
everything."
they're the 2 protagonists of the movie, and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god." And by the way, the duplicate effect was incredible.
Yeah, I no point like, if I didn't know that Ezra Miller was an one person, I
Mhm.
would have actually assumed that they were twins. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although I will say, the mask, they're having the Thor helmet effect with the Flash suit, where it's like, "Oh, we just CG'd that mask right on you." Like,
Well, you had to
eh
do the lenses. Click, click,
I
click, click.
know, that the lenses were fun, but I love, there's a sequence when they're in the bat plane, and it's just like, it looks weird, and it's like, "Oh," because not only is that mask not there, but Ezra Miller's face isn't there either. It's like, "Oh my god." And then you think about every other scene where that's the case, but I didn't fall for it, or but I did fall for it, and I'm like, "All right, this this was top notch." Like, you can do more duplicates in the future
Yeah.
with this kind of effect. I don't even know how they did it. And I was like, it just seemed like it worked out really well.
I do
Anyway,
wanna say, if we're talking about masks real quick, there is a particular scene where after they make the god awful looking suit out of the Batman suit, where
oh my
they
god.
almost mock it,
Yeah.
where Ezra Miller throws on the bat cowl version and looks over
Mhm.
and it's like all wonky, like
Oh,
it
I
doesn't
know. No,
fit.
it's great. I was like, yeah. And
Like, the movie was self-aware of the problems it was going to have. Like,
yes. Yes, and it created, like, solutions for them in a way where they're like, we know one superhero, his suit is, like, friction proof, kind of. That's what we're gonna use, it'll be fun to see. I remember it being in the promotions, or at the very least in leaked images from promotions, and people were like, "This is gonna be the dumbest movie in the world," and I'm like, they're not gonna take that seriously. It's not
no.
like, "Oh, he's wearing that suit, and that's, like, the new Flash suit. It's gonna be awesome." It's great.
I loved how big it looked on him. I was like,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
It was just
Uh
it was intentionally supposed to be like, "You don't fit in a bat suit, so whatever."
Right? The introduction of Michael Keaton into this movie was solid and fantastic.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Michael Keaton Batman's description of the multiverse. I don't think it really holds water when you see it depicted later because like clearly this was their way of being like timelines, like almost like hyper time, but they don't do that. Um, but the spaghetti metaphor, I was like, this is really okay. Like,
Yeah.
if you just stick to this metaphor, and then worlds are smashing into each other, and I'm like, okay, that is not
The
timelines,
smashing of worlds, I was like, wait, when did we get that threat? I mean, but we're jumping
right?
to the very, very ending of it. So
Oh,
we
I
get,
know, but I'm linking them where it's like we
yeah.
talk about the multiverse and explain like because the thing about multiverses, right? Because we have 3 different universes that are dealing with multiverses in movies right now: Spider-Man, Marvel, and DC.
I was thinking
And
that too when he was doing the spaghetti metaphor. I'm like, holy crap, how many
oh my
more
god,
multiverse
more
movies are we gonna have?
multiverses.
You
But
could have left this as just a timeline and been like, you broke the
absolutely.
timeline and it changed the past. Done.
Yeah.
But we had
But
to
I
bring in the multiverse.
right, but they all have to have their own rules, right? And this one's rules, I was like, I dig it. I dig it. Like I kind of like that. They all have and because they literally steal from both, right? Where it's like worlds and incursions, but also canon events.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god! But it still kind of worked in the context of this movie, and I was like, yeah, all right. And I was very aware they were explaining to the audience what a multiverse was, but at the same time, I'm like, you need to do this, and you need to establish the rules of your multiverse. They break them
I
immediately, but it still works.
Well, I actually liked the way they explained it because they also use things we all know, like you had an Alfred, everyone has an Alfred. And it's like everyone
Right.
knows Batman and knows Alfred.
Yeah.
This is the perfect thing. Like so certain things have to happen. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Bioshock multiverse.
Yeah.
There's always a man. There's always a land. But yeah, that
So we go back to I do like how the setup for this wasn't him accidentally just going into the past and like
right,
completely changing everything. It was actually
right.
like because I remember correctly in the original Flashpoint, didn't he meant to go in the past,
Yes.
but there was no like test run. It was just
No.
I
He
just
didn't
went.
even. Well, I think he didn't even remember that he went in the past. You know what I mean? Like he just wakes up and he's in the Flashpoint world, and it's like I think it's because Thawne steals his memories, but yeah, he does it on purpose. Like he's like, you know what? Screw it, I'm saving my mom. And I'm
Yeah.
like, cool.
What's the
I
worst that could
really
happen?
exactly. The entire plot of Barry and his mom and the reason for this movie works.
I liked that they gave the mom a lot of like screen time. Like so we would
Yeah.
actually care about her to an extent. That's one problem I've always kind of had with the Flash in general, comics and even the version in the CW show, and we're going to ignore the fact that there's an entire season where the Speed Force pretends to be his mom. But even the show like they no yeah, you didn't see that. The Speed Force took the appearance of his mom, so his mom became a character.
Ugh.
It was terrible. It was
It's
terrible.
tough.
But the show and the comic have done a poor job of making us give a crap about Nora. Like
Yeah.
the proper Nora. Done a poor job of making us care. And I felt this movie did a much better job of making us care about Nora, showing that and why would Barry. I mean, obviously it's his mom. I think everyone
Yes.
understood that connection.
Oh,
But
sure.
we
But
as an
like, why do
audience,
we care?
right? That was always the
We
issue.
want him to we want him to save his mom, but we need to do that by making her interesting or sympathetic, and we do, and it really works. It's very heartrending and nice, and I really dug it. I was like the introduction to her, the linchpin of it, why he's motivated, the tragedy of it. I'm like, yeah, this all works. The only thing that doesn't work is who killed her, and I
Yeah.
know who killed her, but like the movie doesn't, and we're never
Yeah,
gonna
I
find
didn't even
out.
think about it. The movie never touched on who actually showed up and killed her and instigated
No,
everything.
no. Now that and what's funny is like if you do a Flashpoint movie, we know exactly who killed her, but this is kind of not really a Flashpoint movie, so we can't
Well,
introduce you
the
to.
movie leaves it to still being just a random burglary.
And that's fine if you
I
want to do
wonder if
that.
in one version we did see a speedster come through.
Mm,
Like you did not even showed Reverse Flash. You could have just shown Red Lightning running through and just left it at that.
absolutely, yeah.
I wonder if in a version that was shown because I think the movie does a great job. I didn't even think about that because I didn't dwell on that because one, I know who actually did it, and two, the movie didn't address it at all.
No, they
It was
didn't.
just she got stabbed, she's dead, the father's blamed. We don't need to address what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like also they recast. It was originally the guy who played Dr. Manhattan as the dad, and now it's Ron Livingston, and I'm like, that's fine. I
Oh,
like
I didn't
Ron
know
Livingston.
it wasn't him originally.
Yeah, it was like Billy Crudup, I think his name was. But like,
Okay.
yeah. I was like, yeah, fine. Who
So we go
cares?
back in time, Flash. I'm gonna hit some big plot points, and then we got to talk about our favorite scenes and the
Sure, yeah,
obvious
yeah.
elephant in
Hit
the
it.
room, the CG.
Oh, yeah, we haven't
So
talked
we're
about that.
going through it. Well, what did you think about past Barry being the young, naive, jokey
He's
in a universe where he had no real challenges to overcome?
that Barry, I liked the idea of like because he never really had any because everything came easy to him and nothing was ever like difficult,
Right.
and he never had to like experience tragedy or loss. He's a different person. We don't really lean into it too much, but we see it explored through his depiction of the character.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay. That I not only that, but he's also sort of endearing. Like I get it. You feel not you feel bad for him, but like you give him a pass because you know he's like an idiot.
Yeah, he is an idiot.
And you're like, all right, yeah, no, the ability to have them have two characters, I was like, these are two characters. These are two completely different characters. And that really works, and
Yeah.
it gives Barry, like Barry Prime, the motivation and the perspective to be a better Flash, which is of
Yeah.
course like what the movie is kind of really about, because like obviously like Barry can't save his mom, but he does try, and it's like you can't save the Waynes either, because
Right.
otherwise you don't have Batman movies. And so for the whole thing, it's like he needs to be a better Flash and he needs to balance it. And he doesn't really like want to slash know he should because he hasn't really gotten past the instigating, source of his trauma. And so we see that reflected in like the opposite of the of Barry B. And I'm like, this is great. Like it all worked.
Yeah.
And that those two characters like help the main character on their journey. And I'm like, that's what you do.
Mhm. Batman 89. I just want to ask this question. Do you
Yeah.
think that they're implying that this is in the Batman 89 universe? This is the
No.
far outreach version of it.
According to the Warner Brothers executives, I would almost guarantee that they are like, yeah, this is the Batman 89 universe. The thing is, there's no way. And because Zod wouldn't show up in the Batman 89 universe, right? Like, and I kind of chalk that up to if Barry intercedes, then things will happen. Like, then now Zod will show up in this universe, and
Okay.
not like he was always there.
So it's a
Um,
variant of the 89
yeah,
universe.
I think it's 89 adjacent. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, because it's got things you like and remember from the 89 universe, but they're not quite right. Like the Bat plane is not the same Bat plane. Batmobile's the same, but like the cave is different. Like the box that Joker kept in his shirt when he died, it's the same box, but it's a different thing around it, like that cloth wrapper around it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost what you remember. I think they even did a nice job of recreating, and I want to say it's the same kitchen, but I haven't seen that 89 Batman in a long time. But I'm like, that's the kitchen that Alfred and brings Vicky Vale into. But yeah, I don't know. I
Okay,
feel
I was
like
just
it's
curious
just
how you felt because
yeah,
since the established, like, well, I was around a while ago and now I've retired, and then
yeah.
we see the Joker thing. I'm like, I think they're trying to make us think this is the 89 universe.
They
Like,
absolutely want you to think it's the 89 Batman universe. Like they're like it is.
right.
I think it's more like it's adjacent. Like it is like the 89 Batman universe, but with a few things like Zod and stuff like that. Unless
Okay.
it's just like, no, it is Batman 89, but like because Barry interjected himself, it means that like it's different now. And when he takes himself back out, it will realign and become Batman 89. No, I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't That's one of the things that where I'm like, what are your rules? You know what I mean? Like I think the spaghetti metaphor might apply. I mean, it needs to, but I need to think about it more.
Right. Okay,
What
we
about
could
you?
probably do a full video discussing what was it 89 or not. But let's move over to the next thing.
That's a good
Okay, so
point.
Batman shows up. I do like that they didn't waste time with Batman. He's a
Yeah.
drunk, he's out of it, and within 10 minutes, he's back in the saddle. He's ready to
Yeah.
go, and he's also badass. We don't have any awkward, I'm an old man Batman moments. We don't have anything like that. He's
Nope.
immediately getting to it. I also like
Yep.
that Barry immediately referenced. He's like, I thought Batman was your friend. He's like, not that Batman.
Yeah. That Yeah. Yeah. The movie is very smart with its timing. Like it's just like we're like, all right, next scene, next scene, next scene, but it doesn't feel like frenetic or all over the place. It's just like
Right.
we know exactly how much time we can spend. Like when we're in Barry B's apartment and we're meeting all the characters, and I'm like, we don't need to be here that long, and then we leave, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Once he starts to realize that he's changed quite a few things. He didn't just change the can. He changed a lot of
yes,
stuff.
yes,
I also like the fact that Batman jumped back in the saddle because his whole city was safe. Like we're like 89 Batman succeeded and he is now retired and bored.
100%, exactly.
He's in sandals. He's so bored.
I love it. But I liked the sequence of him, like, kicking ass and him,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
attacking them. I was like, "This is really cool."
Well, I think that was there to establish, like, he's not rusty. He can still do his thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I loved Barry constantly getting smacked by Barry B. Now, that's one thing I actually want to touch on. I like the fact that this movie is so far removed from Zack Snyder's Justice League and and the original
Yeah.
Justice League, that we needed to kind of establish who the Flash is again for your general moviegoer.
Yeah.
And I think they did a great job by having Barry A still be Flash, fully powerful. We get the opening sequence of the babies and the lady to show his power set and what he can
100%.
do.
Yep.
And then we get to see Barry B relearn all of this. So
Yeah.
that you get to go on that journey at the same time, which I
Yep.
really liked. Because it was there for the newcomers who were like, wow, okay, so you can run fast, you can do this. What are the rules? Oh, we're gonna show you the rules. It's gonna be with the other Barry.
Yeah.
Main Barry can go through time.
Right, exactly. No, that was great. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so Batman comes in, we fight. What did you think about Sasha Cohen?
Yeah, she's good.
Supergirl.
Yeah, I think she did a great job. I think,
Yeah.
I liked her portrayal, and it was a solid depiction. I liked her. She was good. Like,
Yeah. I
I
like this
liked her
portrayal of
acting.
Supergirl because it struck
Yeah.
me as the Supergirl who is so strong she doesn't know how to control it. For those who don't know,
Yes.
traditionally the way it's always gone has been Superman is the Superman we know, and he's more powerful because he knows how to control it and he's grown up with it. Supergirl is technically stronger, but she doesn't know how to control any of it. And the reason
Yeah.
is Kal-El grew up in the sun, while
Right.
Kara showed up and just got all the power suddenly.
Exactly. Well, and she's, like, angry, and she
Yeah.
like, the chip on her shoulder and the, like, the trauma she's experienced, her remembering Krypton, all that stuff, like, that all
Mhm.
really, really works, and it's
And
also essential to the Supergirl character.
Yeah, and I also found that to be in the way she was handling it. Like Superman would have gently taken care of everyone. He knows his strength. He knows what he shouldn't do. He knows how to handle it. She's kicking people into the stratosphere,
Uh-huh, yeah.
slamming them around. Like,
Exactly. No,
even
that
her
kind
fight
of
with Zod, she's just slamming him into the ship. Like, holy
that
shit.
brutality from Supergirl, I'm like, "Yes, that is who she is."
Yeah.
Like, that works for me. Um, yeah, yeah, I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
I thought she
So
did
we
a
get
great
to the
job.
big fight and we get to the big reveal. Now, how did you feel? Of one, I liked the big fight sequence. I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah,
Batman, I liked how it all got handled. Do you have any issues with
definitely.
the big fight sequence?
There were a number of them. I loved the rooftop Siberia fight sequence the most. I think it's
Yeah,
because, like, it was really well lit. Like,
that's
I
true.
liked how bright it was. I was like, "Yeah, look at all you could see, like, Batman stands out against the snow so well, as does Flash." It's like, this is really cool. If you're
I
talking
also
about the
like that
Zod fight.
they didn't shaky cam the rooftop
No.
fight. We had a stationary cam showing her coming in and out while Batman's doing things. It was a great fight sequence.
Agreed, agreed.
And Flash is just like, ah!
Yeah, that was great. If you mean the Zod fight, that was where I was like, "Where are we like, what are we doing?" You know what I mean? Like, what is the end game here?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, that's where it's like, "Oh, it's not really about the Zod fight." And I'm like, "That's cool." I didn't complain about that. I was more like, just yeah, it, it's a bunch of stuff. Like, for me, the Zod fight or the Zod sequence where, like, Batman's fighting
'Cause it
Zods
wasn't
and
much of a fight. Like, they hyped up
no.
Michael Shannon's return, and he was barely there, and they hit him behind the CG mask
Just
thing.
smart. I feel bad for Michael Shannon. I'm like, this dude is a good actor, and he doesn't need to be here to, like, do this, but he did, and it's really
Right.
cool that he did.
Yeah.
Like, good for you. You don't need to be here all the time. Cover his face with a mask. But yeah, that was cool. But the main villain, I was like, I saw that coming when I saw that there was a Dark Flash in this movie. I was
Well,
like,
I didn't I mean, I thought it was probably going to be Barry B. I
mhm,
did assume it was most likely going to be him.
yes,
But I will say they didn't really start to put that together movie-wise.
uh-huh,
Like, I was like, "Maybe it's not. Maybe we do have a reverse Flash we're going to deal with, or maybe we do."
yeah,
Like, there's a pot like, we all saw at the beginning that there was a dark Flash. Okay, it's probably the second Barry. That
uh-huh,
was the assumption.
yes,
I do like that the movie it's in the movie itself. I didn't
yeah,
feel like the movie was leaning us in that direction
mhm,
until almost, like, 5 minutes before the reveal.
absolutely.
I
No, they don't want you.
appreciate that.
Yeah, that was like they set him up, and he's not the, like, primary antagonist. Some Actually, the antagonist is pretty much just, I mean, obviously it's Barry, but, like, it's Barry's decision. Like, I
Yeah.
really liked it because it wasn't about fighting an evil, monster or bad guy, despite the fact that there is an evil monster or bad guy, but like he's not really evil and he looks stupid and like but it's not really important.
Yeah.
You know, like him being like, "Oh, I'm a flash monster." I was like, "That's none of this is really that important because he's because of why he has been transformed, what he's trying to accomplish, the fact that he won't learn the lesson." Because like, and I feel like if they'd had another pass when they were making it, and not the people who inherited it just being like, "How do we turn this into something that we can sell?" Um, I feel like it would have been a little bit more powerful if we really hammered home the idea where he's like, I've never experienced tragedy and loss, so I don't know when to quit.
Right.
You know, like it will always work out for me. And when it doesn't, it breaks him. You know,
Yeah.
like which
I
it does. That all happens in the movie, but it's just like
when
it's
realizes he can't, like, he doesn't ever realize he can't save Supergirl.
exactly.
Like, he's trying so hard to save Supergirl.
Hmm.
Um, I did appreciate that. I also one thing I really liked about the 3 berry sequences is this didn't turn into a 10-minute speedster fight.
No,
I
it was
loved that.
none of that. I was like,
No.
this is no, that's like even the climactic villain fight, it's 2 seconds and it's really about Barry learning a lesson. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's
'Cause they did
overall
all their CG fighting right before that. I like with the
exactly.
Zod, and so we didn't then do another 10-minute sequence of 2 speedsters running in circles.
Yeah,
Like,
no, and then of course, like it's frustrating because like you know it's the Marvel formula a little bit where it's like okay, so you got the main character and then you got the bad guy, and the bad guy is the main character but the opposite.
yeah.
But in this case, it wasn't even that; it was just the main character, but they're a bad guy, and even then, they're not really a bad guy. They're just like trying to do something without understanding how they're doing it. And
It created a sympathetic villain without jumping through hoops to get us there.
agreed.
Because once the movie lets you realize, because like I said, we all kind of figured it out earlier, but when the movie lets you realize that this is
Yeah,
just Barry B, you're like, "Oh, man, this poor kid."
right.
Like, you actually care because 'cause you've watched him put together what can't be saved.
Totally. Yeah. No, it was
And you
fun,
also
and
even the stakes of, like, him knowing that the mom's died, and he's like, "You're gonna go back and save her." "No, we could fix this, we can fix this."
yeah.
And then we get the big crashing of the worlds and stuff like that. So
Yep.
now let's just jump into the Easter eggs and all the fun
Yes,
shit,
the Easter
okay?
egg sequence. Yeah.
The daughter verse coming back, I don't think I appreciated that.
I didn't need it.
Yeah,
You
it
could
was a
have
weird
easily
decision when they only showed 3 worlds.
yeah, there's at least one more than Multiverse of Madness, but, even then, it was like, I don't know, they could have done that sequence felt, like they added it, you know?
Yeah, it was a weird decision because 'cause we're like, here's the Richard Donner, here's the Christopher
Yep.
Reeve Superman, and that Supergirl in that universe.
Yes.
And then they're like, and here's Nicolas Cage Superman?
That is a welcome addi I was like, "Yes, you did it, you magnificent bastards, that was incredible." It was just that was a fun Easter egg where it's like, if you don't do it now, you'll never be able to do it.
Yeah.
And, but, like, the Dick Donner thing, I'm like, you could have easily been they could have done it without using CG. They could the only thing they could use CG for is to just put Supergirl right next to him because they
Yeah.
never really in the same scene, I think. But, like, put Dick Donner Superman, like, Chris Reeve and she together, just a shot. You don't need to, like, 3D render it or have him, like, react to what's going on. You just show them.
Yeah.
You know? And they could have gone further. Like, they could have shown, like, a sequence or a deleted sequence from, Batman Forever and had Val Kilmer, like, turn around. You know, like, just a shot of the old Val Kilmer from back then
Yeah.
turning around and looking at what's going on. Maybe. You know, but they didn't do that. You know, they showed Batman 66, who doesn't even have a Superman. Like, they showed, they showed a Jay Garrick, and I'm like, "Was that the Jay Garrick from the
No,
show that people
he's
like?"
from the CW show.
That's what I mean, like, from the
Yeah.
CW show.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is a
so that was
weird
him.
decision to put him into the the, like, 40s Superman stuff, like,
I know, like, yeah, George Reeve was there, and I'm like, "What?" Like, it felt like it was just tacked on. Like, it didn't feel like it made a lot of sense, and it didn't feel like it was as robust. Like, they wanted to go for broke, they should have really gone for it. Like, the
yeah.
Titans from the cartoon should have come out, you know, like, everything.
Well,
And
the
they
CW, the Titans finale had more of, like, a giant, was it Titans, I think? Yeah.
oh,
When Beast
yeah,
Boy's going through the red multiverse, we got all those, like, that they did a better job with that, I think.
they did, yeah, exactly. This was and the only thing that was consistent about it is because the CG is so terrible, everything looked bad. So it was like,
Yeah.
well, you can't argue that like Chris Reeves' Superman looks horrible because like everything does.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the CG because that's the big elephant in the room. Okay, right at the beginning, you know the CG looks wonky. The baby's
It's
making faces, the
the
dog's doing eyes, like
that
that.
that sequence is just like it's terrible. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like pre-viz. Like you're not even done. That's how bad it looks. Like it
I
looks like it's
actually
unfinished.
don't see the way I took it is if you look at the CG,
Mhm.
like we can agree it's not good. Like
Right.
I'm not trying to argue that.
Yeah.
But I will appreciate the fact that most of that CG was regulated to being in Speed Force or in time or things like that.
Yes.
So I took it. This is the way I took it when watching the movie, and now
Uh-huh.
I've seen a tweet where I guess this was intended.
Mm.
That's how the Speed Force was distorting everything. That's how I took it.
Sure.
Well, like I said, I'm not saying it's good CG. This is not me
No.
saying I'm not trying to
No, but they're
argue.
yeah, and they're giving a story reason for why it looks unfinished.
Right. But that's how I took it. And then I guess the director's like, well, we wanted it. We wanted you to see it how the Flash sees it. And I'm like, if that was how you were going to be it, maybe you should have thrown in one line in the movie where the Flash is like, wow, everything looks weird.
Yes. It looks bad and
Yeah.
it looks unfinished. And like maybe if you want to like put a meta reason for it, it's like, no. The siege is unfinished because it's still in time.
Yeah.
We're that those sequences that you're seeing up on like in the speed dome, those are not finished yet. So they're obviously not going to be rendered properly. Like, I don't know. It's just it looked
But
really
like,
bad.
even if that's the reasoning, and that's how I took it, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed the movie, but it looks bad no matter how you look at it. It looks bad. Okay.
Yes.
And even if that's the reason, and that's how I took it, there's not even an in movie like rationale. Like, what if like when Barry B came in, he's like, "Wow, it looks so weird in here," and other Flash is like, "Well, yeah, it's not complete yet because we're going through time," and you would have been like,
Right.
"Okay, at least you in movie referenced it not looking good. You referenced the mask not looking good. You
Uh-huh.
referenced the speed. You referenced the goofy, like, but you didn't self-reference the CG."
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's 100%. That's what it was. It's just it doesn't look good, and there's no excuse. And the only excuse is we can't make this movie cost like $800 million.
Oh
Like
yeah,
we
100. We got to the point of it's already cost way too much to make. They're hoping to break even at this point. Like,
exactly. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But it is really bad, and you'll never and you can't escape that. Like you
no,
can't be like, oh no, it doesn't look that bad. No, it
it's,
looks terrible.
you know what
It
it
looks like
reminded
Son of
me
the
of?
Mask.
It reminded me of a Bethesda game. If you just
Yeah.
watched the Starfield trailer, which I know you didn't, but anybody who's
Yeah, I
watching this
did.
probably. Oh, you did.
Yeah.
It still looks like Skyrim and Fallout with like those
Yup.
eyeballs that look glossy like a doll, and like
Yeah.
it was like like one step above that
Yep.
maybe like in
Yep.
the world where
I don't
everything's
think it was
kind of
one step above that at all. That looks like Scorpion King. Like that looks like CG from forever ago. It's just like
yeah.
it just looks like previs. Like it's not done.
I
It's not
called it PS3 graphics when we were in the theater. I was like, I'm watching a PS3 game here.
that
Okay,
was
whatever.
100% right. Yeah. No, it looks like LA Noir.
Yeah,
Like it looks like that
yeah,
game.
LA
Yeah.
Noir. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to
Um,
me.
it's not great at all, but like I said, I do appreciate that it's regulated to that. A CG that's not in there, it seems like that's where they spent their money. Like
Mhm.
Supergirl flying around, that's not Sasha Cohen. I think that's her name. I keep saying that, but I
I think
think
you're
that's
right. Yeah.
yeah.
But no, yeah,
That's
like
not her doing that, and that
no,
looked fine.
it looked fine. No, all the stuff that you're
Batman
used to
constantly
seeing.
doing this looked fine. I like
All the stuff
that.
you're used to seeing is fine. Like people flying, people punching, running
Yeah,
fast. Like yeah, no, that's fine.
all of that
But
worked out well.
yeah,
I did
don't
like I said.
CG his dad. Like, don't CG his dad in the speed dome going, what? I'm like, no, that looks horrible. Everything here looks terrible. The babies look terrible. The dog looked bad. Like,
Right, yeah. But I feel like that's what they did though. They were like, okay, so we got to save money. Anything in the Speed Force, make it look unfinished.
well, or it's just like, this is the Speed Force. It's not done, obviously. Well, could it be? Could we just say it's done? Like, yeah, I guess we could say it's done. I mean, like, it's really bad looking. Yeah, but like, is it as bad looking as the babies? You're like, no, it looks
It's bad
exactly as
looking.
bad. It's like, oh, okay, well then
I
just,
think what helped, what made the babies and the dog and all that stuff look even worse was they were trying to make them do faces.
oh,
Like,
uh-huh.
I was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
The
No,
sequence, I loved the sequence. Him
it
jumping
was,
around, him getting food midway
yeah.
through.
The pitch
Getting,
was fantastic. Like
oh,
the
yeah.
idea behind it and the fun of it. I'm like, yep, this all works. But
And it's
the
very Flash. That's what I loved about it. It was all
yes,
very
it
Flash.
just needed to be like not so distracting. Uh,
So,
yeah,
George Clooney, what did you
fantastic. I love that moment. I was like, this
do
is
you
great.
think it's gonna lead into anything?
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing. I want to say that the idea was that the guy who comes out of the limo or car was going to be Michael Keaton.
Well, yeah, the
And
movie was supposed to end with a reveal that Supergirl and Michael Keaton were now in the universe, and he broke something.
exactly.
That was we know that for a fact. That's how it was supposed to end.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
now it's been changed because James Gunn doesn't want that universe to be portrayed. So I think
Exactly.
they went with, well, let's make it kind of jokey. Let's make it,
Yes.
and then Jason Momoa will show up, and we'll make it further jokey. Like
Right, but
there's a
even that
Batman all over the place, and
right,
everyone's
but that
different. And
that Jason Momoa scene, it's not worth staying in the theater for, folks. If
no,
you
it's
decide
not.
you're gonna, like, go, that post-credit scene, it's just Barry and Aquaman, like, Aquaman being super drunk, and it
I
the
feel like
but
they just had Jason Momoa. Can you act drunk? And he just ad libbed all of
it
that.
completely did, but, like, there's nothing there it didn't add anything, it didn't, like, do anything. It's not even, like, character, it's just Aquaman pretends to be drunk and Barry carries him, and that's it. Like, that's it?
Yeah.
And it's like, is the idea that,
I
like
think they just used it as a line so he can make the lines of like, there's a different Batman all over the place, but some people are the same where I go. And I
right,
think
but,
it was
like
almost like James Gunn being like, all right. So we're gonna keep some people. So let's throw a weird line in the Flash that could explain this.
I guess. I mean, like, my thing was, like, I was just more confused, like, is that Aquaman? Is that Jason Momoa Aquaman the same one? Or is Barry in another reality that looks similar to, but is weird from his reality? And so, like, Jason Momoa Aquaman doesn't know him. You know what I mean? Like, do they know each other?
Yeah.
Is that actually supposed to be like, it's yeah, no, the Snyderverse Justice League, but Batman is George Clooney now. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. And I'm like, and it just it further compounded the fact this is a solo movie that was absolutely not meant to be that, that is now just kind of like, it existed. Hopefully we
Yeah.
make our money and that's that. Moving on.
Well, I mean, James Gunn has said this is the beginning of his new universe. I mean, he said that, right? This is supposed to be the kickoff. He's going to use it
Well,
as a parlay
I
because
can't
everything
imagine
after
how.
this is supposed to be in the new universe, I think, except Aquaman 2.
Yes, Aquaman 2 is not in the universe because Aquaman 2 apparently is horrible.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently it's terrible. Obviously, I mean,
yeah. But I think like it
here's the kicker with that. What are they even going to do with that? It's terrible. Like Flash. Look, Flash isn't the greatest movie ever, but it does set DC in a better direction.
well, it's
And
at
now we're going
least
to get
makes you
Blue
feel
Beetle, which is
good.
Blue Beetle's supposed to be good, and
Yes, Blue
then
Beetle.
Aquaman's going to tank us again. What?
Yeah. No, Blue Beetle is in the universe also. Like Blue
Yeah,
Beetle is in the new universe that's post this. Aquaman, you know what I would do? I'd just dump it in January and just move on. Like
just pretend it never happened.
yeah, just put it out in January, get your money, and just be like, no, it's just an echo from the previous universe. Um, the George Clooney thing, I don't think George is coming back. I think it was just like he's like, yeah, I'll be me
Yeah, because he
in a
wasn't
scene
even
that's
Batman. He was just Bruce.
yeah. He's just like he didn't even shave his beard. He's like, yeah, hey, I'm here. All right, okay, that's fun.
I did like that scene though because I love Barry being like, but what's going on? What is this? What you're not Bruce? And he's just like, are you okay, Barry? Barry.
Yeah, it was a fun moment. I was like, "That's funny."
Did you see it coming? Because I actually didn't.
I I
I thought either Ben Affleck was going to get out or Michael Keaton, and we were going to lean into. He did do a change of some kind.
I heard a rumor that George Clooney was in the movie, so I was hoping that I had like. So when I saw him, I was like, "What? Oh yeah, that's right." Like that was my
Okay.
experience seeing that. But I thought maybe I missed him in the like montage of the planets smashing together. But yeah, no, I was a little spoiled on that, unfortunately. But
Okay. 'Cause I
it was a
wasn't at
great
all.
moment.
So I was shocked.
That's
Like I
great.
heard the voice when the voice spoke, and I'm like, that sounds closer to Ben Affleck. So I think Ben
Hmm.
Affleck's going to get out of a car. I think they're just not going to set anything new up.
Yeah.
Because I do know that he said that his new Batman will not be in this movie. The recast Batman is not showing up in this movie.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Be
Yeah.
way too
No.
early too. Imagine if he
Oh,
did that. He cast Batman, threw him in this movie, and then like 4 years from now we have Batman and Robin.
whoops. Yeah, that would be crazy. I kind of like that idea, but yeah, they didn't do that. And that's fine. It just further made the movie its own thing.
Right, right. So what else you want to touch on? I'm coming close I'm supposed to go meet up with Rob soon, but what else?
Yeah.
I think we hit the
The
major talking points.
right, like the all the Barry stuff works really well. Like all the drama, all of his motivations, everything where he interacts with his mom and everything where he's like doing, character building, it all really works. The Iris stuff felt really tacked on. I didn't think it really mattered. Which I know it does, and I know it's important, but like it wasn't. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, it didn't really factor in, but it was nice to kind of, like, indicate Barry has a life or will in the future. Like, here's
I
where things are going.
I agree. Iris is pointless, but I do agree if we need to use a reporter, just use Iris. That way
Oh,
it
yeah.
presets up what could have showed up. Like, it's obviously that's what that was there for, so that like the
Totally.
next movie he can get to know Iris better and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that's not happening now. So
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, all the Batman stuff was fun and very like it could have gone further, and I'm glad it didn't. Like the movie almost kind of showed restraint in regards to like all the like self-congratulatory references.
yeah.
And they, it works really well. The Wonder Woman appearing and then they just hit the theme, they just needle drop it. Just I'm like, that's exactly what they did in Shazam 2.
Yeah.
I hope they keep
The
going with
theme
it.
is too good. The theme is too good.
It's too good. I know, it's great.
So
And
I love this movie. Definitely not the greatest movie I've ever seen. I
no,
mean, not at all. I don't think it's a bad movie in any way. I do feel like it's just a fun popcorny kind of movie. I have
totally.
a feeling in a year we're gonna be pseudo forgotten what even happened in this movie. I don't think this is the kind of movie that's gonna stay with me, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, remember what happened in Winter Soldier?" And I still remember that movie. I think it's gonna be a kind of movie like in a year I'll be like, "Ha, that was a fun scene," and like that'll be the end of it.
Absolutely.
So it's good. I liked it.
Yeah,
CG's
I liked it
terrible,
too.
but
CG's terrible, but it was a fun movie. I was like, "This is fun." Yeah,
yep.
I liked it
All
a lot.
right. Well, we'll be back with a much broader, bigger discussion with the rest of the crew here on Monday, guys. So make sure you come back and check that out. And yeah, this is just our overall thoughts. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below because we'll use some of that on Monday's show to go deeper into our discussion to see what you guys thought. Take your opinions. You can join the discussion. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time right here at Absolutely.